Hello everybody, welcome to Flight Past, and today we continue the journey of the US Airborne into Normandy on D-Day 1944, and we're following the journey of the 82nd Airborne from this location here, which is RAF Cottesmore, and we're going to fly south over the south of England to where the 82nd Airborne drop zones were, which were to the west and north of St Mary-Église. We're basically following the path of the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, and if you've been following the series of podcasts, streamcasts, whatever you want to call them, over the last few weeks, we've done the journey of the 101st. We've landed, just landed in St Mary-Église with Lieutenant Dick Winters. So this time we're following the 505th Parachute Regiment of the 82nd. As you can see, I've just been playing around with a few things, trying to make the stream nice. So if you like what you see, this is to help with the vertical streaming that YouTube likes. So if you like what you see, then give us a like and a subscribe. Okay, so we're talking about the 82nd Airborne, and in particular this regiment here, the 505th. So we spoke about this, by the way, is RAF Spanho coming up. That's actually not Spanho, it's coming up on the nose in a second. And this is where the 505th, the main elements of the 505th took off from on the evening of the 5th of June 1944. The 82nd Airborne Division, they'd left the 504th Regiment in Italy. The 505th had been brought back, and they were the experienced regiment of the division. They were joined by the 507th and the 508th. 505th was at this point commanded by William E. Ekman. And but they were usually joined by Brigadier General at the time, James Gavin, who was known as Jumping Gavin, and he liked to jump with the 505th. This is RAF Spanho. We spoke about this place in the last part. So this is where they took off. If you want to hear a bit more about that, then just go back to previous streams. Colonel William Ekman was a veteran. He was a veteran of Sicily and Italy. So they were definitely the senior regiment of the division. As 507th Parachute Infantry Regiment was led by Colonel George Millett, and the 508th was led by Roy Lindquist. They're all going to be dropped, and we're going to see drop zones T, O, and N. which were, as I say, to the west of San Merigles and to the north. They were sort of straddled the Merdere, I hope I pronounced that correctly, river. Their key objectives, we will go into a little bit more detail as we get there, but it was basically to secure the crossroads around San Merigles, and to control the bridges at La Fière and Chef de Pont, which was to the west of San Merigles, to prevent German counterattacks coming from the north and the west. And then they were basically there to disrupt any German movements towards the beach at Utah Beach. These paratroopers would then be joined during the day. There'll be several lifts. So we're talking currently, we're flying now in a C-47 Dakota. This is the 9th Troop Carrier Command, and they would then do a couple of trips during the day, and they'll bring in the glider-borne elements of D-Day. The 325th Glider Infantry Regiment, commanded by Harry Lewis, and the 2nd Battalion of the 401st Glider Infantry Regiment, which was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Carroll. And these gliders would also be carrying Glider Field Artillery Battalion, the 319th and 320th Field Glider Field Artillery Battalion, and including other elements such as engineers, medical staff, signals, reconnaissance, and divisional headquarters. The amount of aircraft going in, the first wave is, I believe, about 369 aircraft took off from various airfields. 82nd, as we discussed, is were billeted in this area here, which is the East Midlands, in a sort of a triangle. From Leicester to Nottingham and then Grantham, and so they would then take off and head south. They were actually coming in probably about an hour after the 101st had gone in. So if you, let's just do a bit of background to as I build this channel up, just so you guys can kind of get the feel of what we're doing here. It is a flight sim. We're in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. You can join me, fly alongside if you have the sim. Just find the West Europe server, and then you can fly along. And the idea of this stream came about because the development of the technology means that now we get this satellite imagery, and in some places photogrammic imagery that creates a one-to-one version of the Earth. So it allows us to go basically in the air wherever we like. And so the idea of this one is we could talk about planes and fly along and have a chat, but I thought we could have a purpose to it, and the purpose being to talk about history. And with the aircraft that's in the stream, such as this DC-3, it makes it an obvious choice for the first few series to be about the Second World War. And so we started off on D-Day. The idea as well is that it won't necessarily just be about D-Day. It won't just be about the Second World War. It's going to be about history, anything you can discuss from the air that helps us understand a little bit more about what was going on at the time and what decisions were made. That we can see from the air why it will make sense. So this is why we do this. So feel free to join in, ask any questions, and if you have anything that you think I've missed or got wrong, which I'm bound to do, then put it in the comments. This isn't me lecturing. This isn't me saying I am an expert on this stuff. I'm definitely an amateur at everything, flying and history, so more help the better. So you can just put any information you like in the comments. If you want, you can help produce the show by visiting our Discord channel. Links are in the profile, and you can go onto here and you'll see that there's a list of subjects that we want to talk about, so you can just click on any of these and add your 2 cents worth of information. You should be able to follow what we're doing. We've got timelines here, so you can click on and you can see the different information that pops up. We have timelines, we have a little bit of information, and you can just add your bit in here, so when we get to it we can talk about it. But as you can see, there's not just about the Second World War, it's also got a load of subjects here which I've put down that I think might be interesting, and you can find your subject here and then we add bits to it. And that's going on into the future. So for people who are new to the channel, we've had, and I'd like to say thank you, by the way. I see that there's 8 people who have subscribed. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, you know, we're going to have to be a bit more ambitious. I'm going to have to try and get to 10 at some point. If you... yeah, I'll just throw myself off then. So we will talk about D-Day. This is the series I'm doing at the moment. We've done Operation Tonga, and that is the British Airborne, 6th Airborne operation on the eastern flank of the Normandy beaches. And now we've come over to the western flank, and the US Airborne we're going in now to secure the western flank. And then my intention is to then go along each of the beaches, and we'll end up at Sword Beach, which will link back again to Operation Tonga. And then we will probably go and do a different subject from there. So we are, as you can see, flying now south. This is the evening of the 5th of June. And we have around about 6,000 to 7,000, estimates about 6,400 troops in the 82nd alone flying in this kind of second wave. 101st have gone in earlier. And we discussed then they were landing slightly to the east of St. Mary-Glees, trying to secure the causeways that are coming off Utah Beach. And so all in all, when by the time this drop has happened, 13,000 troops, airborne troops, would have been dropped. So let's just have a quick chat now about the command structure of the 82nd. So the divisional commander was Major General Matthew Ridgway, and he actually would be flying in later on the 6th in a glider. But you have, I suppose they're called the Assistant Divisional Commander. He was Brigadier General James Gavin. He led what's known as Force A, which was the initial parachute assault, and he's jumping with our guys here on the 505th. Let me see if I got a picture for you. This is the guy here. And his task on D-Day is to make some sense out of the scattered troops. The other assistant divisional commander was Brigadier General George Howell, but he was more in charge of the gliders and the reserve elements. And all of this is under the 7th Corps, US First Army, who was commanded by Major General Lawton Collins. Okay, so D-Day, the guys have taken off from the Midlands. They were using RAF Cottesmore, RAF Barkston Heath, RAF Falkingham, RAF Saltby, Spanhoe, and other airfields as well. And they would then head down to the south. Now, I believe that this route that I have here makes the most sense. We're heading down. I'm actually going to go fly over the Greenham Common, which was one of the RAF bases that the 101st used. But it makes sort of sense that, as you can see, there's a channel across the English Channel. They would have had these paths for them to fly on, so that the Navy and the ships below would you can say, like, okay, we're in this area, these aircraft are Allied aircraft, because remember, it's night, there's clouds and all this sort of stuff, especially on the return route, because they will actually be coming back from the south, presumably a lot higher altitudes, but it makes sense that they're worried about blue on blue action. The Pathfinders have gone off ahead. They took off from RAF North Witham, and they took off about an hour or so earlier, around about 10 p.m. And because the 505th had been in Sicily, and they'd already done some combat jumps, the Pathfinders of the 505th were very experienced, or experienced enough. And this is why when we're heading here with the 505th to drop zone O, I think 75% of these aircraft drop their what's known as serials, which are the aircraft numbers. 75% of them were dropped on the correct target. I dropped zone O. The other two regiments, they were a little bit more scattered. They also experienced a lot of trouble because of the flooded areas of the Murdere river. So these pathfinders, they're going to be landing in. They're flown in with the most experienced pilots and the guys who are expert map readers. They will set up the lamps, eurekas, radio beacons, and they then in these aircraft here, they would have what's known as a Rebecca receiver. I'm not sure of, but you see underneath the aircraft these sort of aerials. I'm not sure if it would, but they would have some sort of radio receiver. They were called Rebecca receivers, and then they could have an RDF, or a radio directional finding, to hone in on these signals. The lead aircraft in the V's formation would have one of these, so it was important for the other aircraft to remain in contact as much as possible. Let's okay. So this seems like a decent place to finish off this part. And I'll just take a quick break, get a glass of water, and we'll come back with the next section. Okay, so welcome back. We're talking about the US Airborne on the 82nd, and we are heading down to the English Channel. We're currently flying towards RAF Greenham Common, which you can just make out, I believe, on this ridge up ahead. RAF Greenham Common was one of the airfields used by the 101st. They would have taken off about an hour earlier. And what's happening is there's basically a big loop happening where the aircraft heading south, I believe, then head towards Portland Bill. Remember, this is actually at night. We're talking probably here about midnight now. So these aircraft are probably using the airfields all the way down England, using their direction facilities and maybe even light signals to make their way down to the south coast. And then if you get to the south coast, you have Weymouth, Portland Bill would be an obvious fixing point for navigation. And from there, as you can see on the map, you then get a directly south route down to the Channel Islands. They're a good way then to get another fix. And then you can use the Channel Islands to then do an almost direct easterly journey onto your drop zones. This is RAF Green and Common, famous in the 80s for the US Air Force Base and its nuclear facilities. This is where the protests happen, the Green and Common marches. It's now a park. You can see some of the bunkers over there on the right-hand side, where they had their bombers situated. But this was a Air Force base that was used in the Second World War. I've been looking at all these airfields doing this series, and I find them fascinating. So we will probably do a whole series on former World War II bases, or ones that are still in use, and who used them and what. Okay, so the C-47s, this is a DC-3, by the way. The military version is known as a C-47, and the British called it a Dakota. The Americans called it a Skytrain. There was a whole thing. I think Eisenhower called it one of the key aircraft or key pieces of military equipment. He said the reason why the war was won because of the Dakota, the bazooka, the Jeep, and the atomic bomb. It's basically a truck in the sky. As you can see, large wings, powerful engines. It could carry quite a lot of weight. These were organised we're talking, let me just change this date. So we took off, it was 11 o'clock in the evening. We're flying south, and it's probably just coming up now on the 6th of June, D-Day. They were all organised in these 6 C-47s into serials that carried around about 36 to 54 planes in these sort of waves. And from what I can tell, but please help me out because I'm not sure, they headed southwest. They then headed down towards the Channel Islands, and then they came in from the Channel Islands on an easterly route. And this is they didn't want, mainly because they didn't want to come across the invasion beaches, because there was bombing runs going to be happening. The Navy build-up was down there, and they didn't want to have a heavy anti-aircraft fire. So they would come across the Rotterdam Peninsula from the west to the east, and then they will go out over the Utah beach and bank to the left, and then they were given a 10-mile corridor. I believe it was something like don't go further than a certain distance out, because if you do, you will be shot at. So they were given this sort of corridor to escape and head north, avoiding any anti-aircraft fire, avoiding, especially around Cherbourg, and then they would head back. Now, I'm not sure what route they would go back. It might make sense that they just head straight north from the Rotterdam Peninsula. It might mean that they would head back to Weymouth, but they probably went very high, keep out of the way of everything down below. This looks like an airfield. It is an airfield. Where are we in? Oh, this is. I believe this is Middle Wallop. This is army. I think it's an army airfield. This is on the Salisbury Plain. What height do they fly? Well, people talk about I can't get a clear read on the height that they flew down. Some people say they flew down at 150 meters when they were coming across the coast. That might be correct. They say it's to avoid radar. Well, I think I'm not sure that would be so important, but the most important thing would be the height of the clouds and making sure you kept in formation. So I think a lot of the time when they're flying across the channel, they're above the clouds, and then they probably descend after they've reached the Channel Islands, and then they come down to their and jump height. I don't know, by the way, if that's true or not. So if anyone knows the actual procedures they did, then let us know. From what I've read, the 101st flew in between Jersey and Guernsey and the islands, and the 82nd kept to the north of the Channel Islands. Up ahead as well, there was some Sterling bombers from the RAF, and they were going to be dropping thousands and millions of aluminium foil slats. They're just chucking them out in like a bag, like a ticker tape thing. They were nicknamed Windows, and they were thrown out, I believe, near Granville. Now, so Granville, I believe, is in this area here. So what they wanted to do was to fool the Germans that the parachute drop, the main parachute drop, was going into the south of Caratan, which is here. So they kind of think. So there's also these drops of what was known as Ruperts. They were little sort of 3-foot dolls that when they landed, they made the sound of machine gun fire, basically to confuse the Germans as to where these landings were happening. So the Germans were on top of the 369 aircraft of 82nd and similar amounts for the 101st. The Germans were believing that they were seeing thousands of aircraft coming down all over any radar screens. The 82nd operation was called Operation Boston. The 101st was called Operation Albany. And the time that they started to drop the Pathfinders were dropping at about 121, I hear. The whole journey took about two hours from and the actual drops began at 1:30 and would take I think the whole operation to drop all of them. The 82nd lasted maybe half an hour, so people were dropping from about 1:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's change the scroll. So let's do some let's do the, have we done the US Airborne stats? Let's put them on. The scroll bar on the bottom, by the way, is you can read it as I'm talking. I might not get it completely right, so I just hoping if I put some of my notes on the bottom, then if you can see that I've made an error if I have. Trying to fly the aircraft and read this stuff out is quite difficult. We are currently this looks to be Poole Harbour. Yeah, this is Poole Harbour here. This is the Oh, look. That looks like an Iron Age fort. So we're in Dorset at the moment. We're heading... that's Poole Harbour. You've got the Jurassic coastline over there. You can probably just make out the Isle of Wight. And there's Bournemouth off our left wing. This area, I think, somewhere around here is Bovington Camp, and Bovington Tank Museum will be somewhere in this area. So yes, let's talk drop zones. Drop zone O is the one where we're heading to. It's near to the town of St Mary-Glees. It was the most northernmost drop zone, and it was also right near a key road junction. Drop zone N was to the west of the Meurdere River, and that was where the 507th was designated to land. It was marshy, and the Germans flooded it deliberately, so they had a tough landing there. And it was also very similar to drop zone T, which was further to the southwest of the drop zone N, and that was designated for the 508th. So you can see now on the horizon over there, you've got Portland Bill sticking out. Got Chesil Beach leading towards it. I don't know, this looks an interesting... This might be Bovington Tank. Bovington Camp. Looks very army basey, doesn't it? So they've obviously got the tank museum there. Okay, so we're heading out now onto the English Channel. So you can see here an example of how Portland Bill would make sense for these flights to merge upon. It's a very distinctive landmark on the south coast of England. You can't miss it. It even points in the direction that they want to go in. And in these situations, when you've got so much planning going on D-Day, what you really need to do, especially if you look at the compass on the aircraft, and is to give these guys the best opportunity to get where they're going as easily as possible with the least amount of cock-ups. It's the old keep it simple, stupid mentality. So yes, you'll have beacons and maybe some light signals, because it's dark, to guide these guys on their way. But a damn bit of rock in the sea never hurts on your navigation. And so this makes kind of sense. It also means as well when we get to Portland here, we'll bank left, and we're going to be heading straight south to the Channel Islands. So it means it's an easier read on the compass. You know, if you do go into a cloud bank, it's a lot easier just to maintain a southerly direction. And you can use these main physical features of the landscape to your advantage. We was in our previous streams, we took off from RAF Pottery, which is over there on our right, and we could use Chesil Beach as almost as like a guidance system to take us out into the channel. So we're coming in about an hour afterwards, and so this means that this area of sea from Portland Bill to the Channel Islands will be designated as a safe zone for these transport aircraft to fly down. So any ship, which there were a lot of, that were coming up the channel from, well, even from here, Weymouth, but from Plymouth, or even from around Land's End, from ports in the north, they'll be coming down here, and they'll see these aircraft coming over their heads, and they'll know that they were Allied aircraft, and they didn't need to worry about them. So here we go, we're turning to the south now, and we will be, next stop will be the Channel Islands. So at this point here, I'm going to go and get a glass of water. I'll be back in a second, and we'll talk a bit more about the drop that's coming up. Welcome back, everybody, to Flight Past. We are currently flying across the English Channel in a DC-3. So let's change my location. And we are we took off from RAF Spanhow and we're heading to Sainte-Mère-Église. I'll put this in now. But we're currently flying over the English Channel. The time is probably, we're looking at about 12:30. We're currently about 1 hour behind the 101st Airborne that went in a little bit earlier than us. And we're taking in the 82nd Airborne into Normandy. If you're new to the channel, this is Flight Pass. It's a cross between a stream and a history podcast, a streamcast, may I suggest. It's about using a Microsoft Flight Simulator or whichever simulators has the best terrain to look at history from the air. Microsoft Flight Simulator has now got this ability to create a one-to-one version of the world, and we can use that to get a bird's eye view on history. So we can be jumping out of an aircraft over the Kotzebue Peninsula in 1944, and we can be a landing ship landing at Omaha and seeing what the cliffs look like. We could be the old guard at Waterloo and what it was like to go up that slope at Mont Saint-Jean towards the Allies holding the ridge. You know, we can investigate the Anglo-Zulu War, Rorke's Drift, and places like that. You know, there's a lot of things that we can do with this, and I thought streaming sometimes is fine, and you can be in an aircraft and I can tell you about the knobs and whistles and all that sort of stuff. But there's plenty of people who are much better doing that than me, and they like all those procedures. I mean, I do enjoy it, but it's not for me to teach people how to fly, or even do understand what all the knobs and whistles do. But what this allows me to do is to basically do what I like, which is I'm one of these guys that when I'm reading a history book, I've always got my thumb on the map and flicking backwards and forwards. So this is a way for me to actually have a look at the distances involved. Having a look at when you look at a map of, say, for example, when we did Operation Tonga, and you're looking at the Breville Ridge on a map, you wouldn't even notice it in a certain sense, or you wouldn't even know, if it was anything major. But in this sim, we could actually see the significance of that ridge and its strategic or tactical significance for the whole of the Normandy invasion beaches. Controlling that ridge was essential in a certain way in order to protect the eastern flank of primarily Sword Beach, but if Sword Beach fell, then you could see that Juno would fall and Gold would fall, and it would be rolled up. So this Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment is excellent and doing that, and hopefully the photogrammic imagery will get a bit better, and the whole world will look almost as it is. But even now we can detect things that sometimes a map won't suggest. We could see bomb craters in fields. The satellite imagery, the changes in the textures on the soils, where bomb craters have been filled in, they're still there now and can be detected from the air. And so you look at Ponta Hoc, you get you can see clearly the amount of damage that was done to that point. And so therefore the world is your oyster when it comes to what we can do then as a podcast, as a stream. And so as long as I play Flight Simulator and I've got the ability to stream, then I think we'll just do different subjects. If you like the idea of that, then please like and subscribe. You can also join the Discord channel. I've set it up so that it's kind of I'm suggesting the subjects that I'd like to talk about, but if you have any information you want to give, you can give it, and you can become a producer on the show. I've got a Twitter at FlightPast. Again, all these links are in the profile. And as you can see from the HUD, as I like to call it, I can put on as much information as you like, and I can move things around. We can do all these little improvements to make the thing better. And talk about that, let's change the scroll for you so that we've got... let's put on the 505th action. So, here we are, we're flying over the English Channel. We're heading due south for the reasons I've mentioned. And we're heading to a little island between Sark and Guernsey. Now, I mentioned this in the 101st Airborne. The Channel Islands were a part of the United Kingdom. It was the only part of the United Kingdom that were occupied by the Germans. But you can imagine that it's quite easy for a commando to swim ashore here, set up an Eureka beacon, or even have some guiding lights or something like that to help these guys locate where they are in time and space. And from what I have read, the 82nd Airborne didn't go in between Guernsey and Jersey, but the 101st, I believe, came down and used the north coast of Jersey as a guide, whereas the 82nd, I believe, used the Guernsey Sark as a guide, a bit like this. And this then puts them on a very simple then course of due south and then due east. Now, this may not have been the path. They might have been at different altitudes. I don't know. As I say, the point about these streams, podcasts, is to for me to lead a discussion, not to tell you. I'll try and keep it as factual as possible, but I will say when I don't know. So if you do know, then help us out in the comments below, and you'll get a credit on the stream if you do. So we got Old Dene, I believe, on the left here. Should be able to see. There we go. So we're now approaching the Channel Islands. Objectives. This is Operation Boston, and basically the 82nd are going to create a human shield initially, protecting the Utah beach landings. They're going to attempt to capture the crossroads at Saint-Mère-Église, and they're going to seize and hold key bridges over the Meurthe River at La Fière and Chef Dupont, initially to prevent German counterattacks and German reinforcements, but also a bit like on the eastern side with the River Orne Bridge and the Canal Bridge, so that later these bridges can be used when they've landed, and the sort of defensive mode changes then to an offensive mode. Then these bridges, if they're intact, can be used to then go on the offensive. Because the whole point of Utah Beach is, and the reason why it's there, is just because they need to capture Cherbourg, and so they come in at Utah Beach. They can then quickly build up, get across the sort of causeway area, get inland, build up forces, then drive across the Cotton Peninsula to cut off the Germans in the north, and then make their way up and eventually capture Cherbourg, which is a deep water port that the Allies need. So the bridges were important. They were one of the other objectives is to create a defensive line. Is from a place called Nouvelle au Plan, which we'll probably have a look at, down to a place called Bougainville. Excuse my pronunciation. And the other broader objectives, they wanted to destroy some bridges over the River Douve, to effectively isolate the Cotentin Peninsula, and so prevent the Germans trying to reinforce Cherbourg. The original drop plan, I believe, had them landing a little bit further west, but last-minute intelligence reports showed German troop movements so in that area, so they pulled them back and kept the drop zones closer together, and that might be why drop zone T and N, there were more issues surrounding them. So here we go. We got Guernsey on our right, and we got Sark on our left. And so this I forgot what the name of this this island in the middle is. Let me just look. It makes sense that this would be where they would come in, just because this is Herm. This is the island of Herm, I believe. It's quite a distinctive looking island, and of course if you're out, you're too far to the east, you wouldn't have 3 islands, and Guernsey is quite a distinctive island as well, so it puts you back on course. So this is where I believe they would take a left bank here and head towards Sark. They would then probably head to the south, or the north part of Sark, or some maybe point of Sark, maybe the south part, and that will give them an easterly direction in. So now we're on the final leg of the journey into the drop zone. We have already done quite a few drops where I've turned the lights off, and so this one we'll leave the lights on, just so that you can see the issues that they would have had even during the daytime. I mentioned it before. When we get to the Rotterdam Peninsula, there isn't that many landmarks that you can see, and every village looks the same. Every village or town has the same sort of shape. It's got the same sort of church in the middle of it. They all look a bit similar. So here we go now. We're now turning onto our last leg. We'll be heading due east. And we are currently flying at around about 1,800 feet. So it probably between here and the coast is when these guys might start reducing their height. But we do know from when we looked into the 101st, they were furthest to the south. You can see Jersey over here. And between Jersey and the main coastline, we know they hit a cloud bank, and that scattered a lot of the guys, and that might be one of the reasons why Dick Winter's stick serial got so off course. For the 505th, as I say, 75% of the guys in their serial landed on the correct drop zone. Wasn't so much the case for the other guys. So as I mentioned, it's probably to do with the experience of the Pathfinders, the nature of the drop zone, And also it could have been like that they just had a clearer run in terms of cloud banks and whatever, so that their cereals weren't dispersed as much. It also meant when you look at the patterns of the drops, you can probably see that a lot of the other guys in the other sticks, if they've lost where they're going, they might just follow each other, and so they're all kind of landing in the same area, especially in the north of San Merigles. So here we go. This is the Cotadan Peninsula. So we're talking, it's about 1:30, so it would be night time. The clouds would be at the base we know of the clouds is around about 2,000 feet. So we would actually just be underneath the clouds coming in. And they will start experiencing flak as we cross the coast. Now, as you can see, we've flown to the Channel Islands and we've taken a left turn. And so this is a point where the navigation, they would go on to an easterly course. They still got to get to the Eureka Beacon. They may not pick it up from here, but what it does mean is that you can definitely tell when you're going to cross the coast. And so if you know your speed, of course, and you know at the point you're crossing the coast, you can just start a stopwatch. And when that stopwatch gets to a certain time, you know you're in the area, and if you can have other things helping you, that's great. But that could just be, start a stopwatch, and after, say, like maybe 5 minutes, you chuck them out. Now, the guys in the back, the red light will be on now. They will be standing up and hooking up. There's no points in them sitting down going across the coast. The flak starts. They need to be, if this aircraft gets hit, they need to be able to jump. So from this point on, they will probably be already stood up and the red light is on. So here we go. So this is Operation Boston then. The drop time is 1:51. Let me just change. Drop time is 1:51. We've got 369 C-47s in 3 waves. We've got the 3 regiments coming in. We've got 6,420 paratroopers about to be dropped over the Cotadan Peninsula. So we're crossing the coast now, so I would say probably this is where the co-pilot has started a stopwatch. And now, if you look at this terrain, there isn't anything at the moment that is showing a landmark to lock into. Let's just briefly show you what it would look like at night. I don't want to do. We did this before, but this is at night. Of course, these lights would not be there, so you're not. We wouldn't even have the lights on. It was a full moon. But there is, you can see these clumps of lights, which obviously are towns, but these wouldn't be on at the time. Again, as you can see, I mean, I'm not even sure that you'd be able to see these roads. Each town is the same sort of shape, round with a church in the middle. I think you can see here, coming up in the middle distance, this is the valley of the river Murdero coming up. So we will be flying over drop zone T, I believe, heading to drop zone O. You can just make out over there the eastern coast of the continent. So we are heading. You can see Utah beach ahead of us. This here is the Murdero River, and I believe that might be Lafayette below us. You can see how the river just winds down there. So we've got two drop zones, one down there at Chef Le Pont and one here in this region. We should now be approaching Saint-Mère-Église. Or have we just gone past it? We might have already gone past it. This is during the day. You can see how difficult it is even during the day. Okay, according to that was maybe the wrong river. So you can see how these guys might get confused. The pilots of these planes, you know, are not. This is their first experience. A bit like mine. This actually might be the Murdero or Murdere. I think that might be the river. This could be the area here of drop zone T. Okay, I believe we've got Saint-Mère-Église on the nose now. So one drop zone was in this area. One was down over there off our left, right wing. This is the river here. Well, this is the main railway line coming up. This could be the river here. And then we're going into the drop zone is this area here. So this would be the drop zone where the 505th landed, and the time was 1:51. We've got St. Mary-Glees over here. And so somewhere in this area here would be where the 505th landed. Boom. And there you go. Welcome to Normandy. So in the next episode, we'll start looking at what these guys did. They once they landed, they had to form up and head off to do their various jobs. This is St. Mary-Glees, so they wanted to capture the crossroads here and secure the bridges over the Meurdere, which is back there. And so we'll look into what we'll look into what happened with the 505th, and we'll look into what happened with Dick Winters and his an easy company. As we're carrying on now, over Utah Beach. The Dakotas then, they makes sense, they flew straight out over the beach, probably climbing, possibly not until they got out over the sea. And then as I said, they had this corridor, a 10-mile corridor that they flew back up the Rotterdam Peninsula. So below us here is Utah Beach. As I say, so in the next episode, then we'll discuss what the Airborne did to secure the exits off this beach here, and then after that we'll then do Utah Beach as well. So our C-47 now is on the way back, heading back to England. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next episode. Goodbye.